Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking about the need to separate yourself from certain people. There are a few reasons why God wants us to do this. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character." We need to consider the company we keep, those we allow close to us, and what effect they have on our character. God wants us to avoid those who are going to be a negative influence on us. Those who are living in willful sin, the gossiper, the mocker, the complainer, those that spread strife and stir up division. These are not the type of people that should have influence in our life. So we need to be careful who we allow access to us. Another reason is because God wants you to spend some time in isolation so He can prepare you for your calling. When God takes you through this season of preparation, it's often a time when a lot of spiritual attacks will come. The enemy will use anyone he can to interfere with what God is doing in your life, even those Christians that you have godly relationships with. An example of this is when Jesus told his disciples that he was going to be killed. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. "Never, Lord," he said, "this shall never happen to you." Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns." The enemy will use people, most times without them even knowing, to speak against your destiny and to try to cause confusion. So God might be calling you to a season of isolation for your protection. Sometimes God might want you to spend time alone because He wants to remove the distraction so you can hear His voice more clearly. And so He can work on your character. He wants to purify and refine you. He wants to heal your heart from past trauma and bring deliverance. And He wants to draw you closer to Him. Another reason why God may want you to separate from certain people is because when it comes to our relationships, sometimes we can become overly attached to or dependent on a person to the point where they become an idol to us. We can't imagine our life without this person. But God wants us to be dependent on Him for all of our emotional and physical needs. And so sometimes we need to spend some time away from a person to break that idolatry. So these are some of the reasons why God may want you to separate yourself. And generally, it's because people are interfering with the work that God wants to do in your life. They're not allowing you to grow spiritually. And there might be some people God wants you to have very limited contact with. He might want you to limit what information you share with these people about your life. And there may be people that God wants you to avoid completely. It could be just for a short season, or it could be indefinitely. And sometimes God will be the one to remove certain people from our lives. There are some people that you might not be able to separate from physically, for example, your spouse. But God might want you to separate from them mentally and emotionally for a season. Each situation will be different for each person, but most times you'll have a sense in your spirit that God is wanting you to separate yourself. And so just take it to the Lord in prayer for further direction. Don't lean on your own understanding, because even good relationships with godly people can interfere with what God is doing in your life. It may be that these people are still working on being healed and delivered from things that God has already dealt with in you. And so God doesn't want these people to hold you back from where He wants to take you. We can still love these people from a distance. And some people won't understand, and they may even take it personally. But the most important thing is that we're in God's will. We have to trust what God is doing and know that it's ultimately for our good. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.